Travolting presents The Fraser's Edge. Hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore. Recapping the AUTEURIST return era and looking to the future. Enjoy the episode. It's the end of the podcast as we know it.
No.
It's the end of the era as we know it. And I feel fine.
Fine? Just fine?
Just fine. I'm sad to see him go, you know?
Oh, I thought you were like in the prospects of Fraser's career just feeling fine.
No, I'm feeling good about his career.
Yeah.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for listening to our episode on Killers of the Flower Moon last week. Hope you enjoyed it.
A great movie covering finale.
We had a really good time discussing that movie. We're so glad we got to close out on not The Fanatic this time. Or whatever the fuck we closed on. I think it was The Fanatic, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was a Fanatic, and then we covered...
Yeah, last time we closed out on The Fanatic. I'm glad we didn't have to do that.
We've covered two movies since,
Yeah.
Paradise City and Mobland.
Yeah, unfortunate. And Die Hard, don't forget about Die Hard.
Oh, Die Hard.
We can't forget about Die Hard. He did Die Hard for our sins.
Good one. That was good.
But no, this week we're back to recap the last little era of Brendan's career, which was only, 4 movies so far. So there's not much in that respect to really talk about.
Yeah, you and I had quite the extensive conversation about this.
Yes.
Of like, do we call this an era? Or do we call this like a footnote of an upcoming era?
And I think we just kind of settled on like it's an era because we're not going to do another recap in the future. But we'll talk about what this era could mean.
Yeah.
To recap what this era is, it's No Sudden Move, The Whale,
Killers of the Flower
Moon.
3 movies.
And also Batgirl, which, as we
Batgirl.
know, is a very real movie that came out and that we saw.
And it was a masterpiece
Yeah,
that we are so sorry you'll never get to see.
Best movie ever. So glad you guys won't get to see it. An episode we definitely didn't do just to buy us time to cover Killers of the Flower Moon.
But boy, are we glad we did.
Because we didn't do that. That's not what we did.
Right.
I'm very much saying we did not do that.
We did not do that.
We did not sweatily come up with the entire plot of a movie for the purposes of buying a week.
Buying us an extra week.
Yeah, we did not do that.
No, not at all.
But no, this was Brendan really coming out of the ashes of The Secret of Karma.
Yeah. What a great last movie in that era.
The most insane thing I've ever seen.
It's just such a movie that like you have to like see him on screen and then see himself on screen and reflect in the way of what the fuck am I doing?
What am I doing with my life?
Like I am putting on this pharaoh outfit and this eyeshadow. As Roné. Wait, no, it's like...
Oh, Animus.
Animus.
He's Animus.
Animus.
But he also plays Roné.
That's right. And you have to think it's like he had to have been sitting in his trailer, if he even had a trailer.
His like bungalow.
His bungalow.
Like tent.
Right. Putting on this fucking pharaoh costume with the green eyeshadow and being like, how did it come to this?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the sad part about this whole conversation, though, is we know how it got to that.
Yes.
We know very well how it got to that.
We know all the details.
And we know the details of the coming back story.
Yeah. Because after that, No Sudden Move kind of comes out of his, resurgence in popularity in the 2020 pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are just rediscovering his earlier work. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's only 10 p.m., bro.
It is only 10 p.m. I'm a tired boy recently. But he comes back in No Sudden Move. At the same time, gets cast in The Whale.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also gets cast in Killers of the Flower Moon. He kind of gets cast in all 3 of these things at the same time.
Yeah, he does.
They all come out of like that kind of rediscovery of him.
Yeah.
And as each movie comes out, it does better and better things for him. Like No Sudden Move is kind of a reintroduction to a lot of people being like, "Oh, he's back."
What was that?
It was the oven turning on.
Oh.
I'm multitasking and cooking dinner right now.
Okay.
And then The Whale wins him an Academy Award.
Wins him an Oscar for Best Lead Actor.
Yes, he wins the Best Leading Actor Oscar for The Whale.
And
He's
he deserved it.
firmly back. He's firmly back.
And he deserved the Oscar.
He did deserve. He's good. He's great in that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And then in Killers the Flower Moon, as having just come out, he's really just re-solidifying, like, okay, Brendan Fraser is going to be in movies again. He's going to be in big movies with big name directors, and he's just going to, do character actor work.
Yeah.
And be good at it. He's kind of he's discovered his new career trajectory.
We didn't even say this on the Killers of the Flower Moon episode. I'm just now thinking about it, but people are going to go to this movie with having known and or seen The Whale and his Oscar win. And what I mean by that, it's one of those things it's like the Matt Damon no sudden move thing, where it's like how Steven Soderbergh just puts actors in his movies. And it's like, oh, it's Matt Damon. Like, people are gonna Damon. Right. Well, people are gonna go to Killers of the Flower Moon and they're gonna notice Fraser.
Yeah.
Not just like
they're gonna be like, oh shit, it's The Whale.
Right. It's like it's the guy who won the Oscar for The Whale last year. Like, just in this little small role. And I think that's something special to me.
It's like just really a reaffirmation of just, the beginnings of something new for him.
Yeah.
And that's this is the kind of work I want to see him continuing to do.
Yeah.
Because regardless of my thoughts on The Whale, I do think he's good in that movie. Thank you.
Yeah, and given that I still hold it to be one of the, cinematic masterpieces of our era, I believe that it's a story that was told extremely well through not only just how well he delivered his performances, but just from the knowledge of his upbringing and growth through the industry. Like, having all that stuff coming behind him into that role really kind of solidifies not just for himself, but for us watching him as the audience of like, this guy deserves a comeback.
Yes.
Like, this guy needs to come back.
And he's a comeback king.
Yeah. He is a comeback king.
And that's what I want to see out of his future now is, if he gets more meaty roles like The Whale, I hope obviously that he takes them, and I'm sure I hope they're good.
Yeah.
But would be really happy and content just seeing him continue to pop up in things like No Sudden Move and Killers of the Flower Moon.
I
would love to see the next Chris Nolan movie. Like, Brendan Fraser is in it for like 3 scenes.
He's the Josh Peck of Oppenheimer, kind of.
Yeah, he's just like in one of the. He would be so good as one of the guys in Oppenheimer.
Oh my god, yeah.
Just like one of the guys, just like the uranium in the thing.
Well, I want to see him in leading roles.
Yeah.
Like, and I know like it's good that he's taking supporting roles, and I like him in that too. And I don't have a golden ratio, but I was just thinking about it as you were saying it. It's like, like 2 really good supporting roles with big directors, and then 1 leading man indie. That whether it flops, it's an indie, so it goes unnoticed, or whether it's super successful and people are like, see, isn't this guy really good? Like, if he could do another like A24 or something like that, to that level of extent, where he's not, I don't want to see him in, I think you and I both agree, we don't want to see him in blockbusters.
Yeah. Like, if he gets a good role, yeah, sure, he should be in one of these things. But this is the avenue of work I want to see him exploring right now.
People are saying, like, bring him back in Mummy 4. I don't want to see him in Mummy 4.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much to gain from doing a Mummy 4. If they announce it, we will, of course, cover it, and I hope it's good. But there's no reason to do it.
There's no reason. There's no reason for a Mummy 4. I don't think that's a role for him now.
Yeah.
I think I don't even think we know what role he's in now.
Yeah.
I know we like certain roles he's in, but I still think we are entering in a new era where
he's always wanted to do dramatic work, and he's getting the opportunity to do dramatic work.
Do you think Passion of the Darkly Noon could get remade?
They should make Too Passion, Too Darkly, Too Noon.
But like, on a serious note, do you think that could honestly get a remake?
I think that movie is too specific to its director to.
Okay, true, fair. Like, who today could remake that movie? I don't know, but but to that point, like Passion of the Darkly Noon adjacent would be something I would die to see him in.
I would love, just like kind of a lo-fi horror movie.
Yeah,
something more experimental.
Very experimental. Something to see him, because if we've learned about anything about Brendan Fraser in this time, is that he's a guy who takes chances.
Yeah,
and he leaves his ego at the door.
Yeah, And that movie Brothers that he has coming up, it's a comedy, and I would love to see him do like a good studio comedy again.
Yeah.
Not who is it? Who is it?
Hello? Well, that's just fantastic. Hi, everybody.
Oh,
How's
hi,
it going?
John. What's up?
Hey, Jeff. It's so good to see. How you
Wow,
been?
I was not expecting a character to come by today, but
A character. That's an interesting
you're
way
a
of,
character, John.
I'll try to take that as a compliment. How you been, Mr.
I've
Sweeney?
been doing great, John. How about you?
I've been doing okay. Been doing just fine myself, and I'm working on That's Amore. I've been hearing you talk about that.
You're working on that some more?
Yeah.
Through the SAG strike? Are
No,
you a
well-
scab, John?
Now, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, you must understand. Like, when I came out with that music video with
Olivia Newton-John? God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. I will miss her to this day. I was not thinking about what the unions wanted and didn't want me to do. Have you seen that music video?
I have seen that music
It was
video.
not made by any unions.
It was made by the Union of Hell.
Well, I take a little bit of offense to that.
I'm sure you do.
But Jeff, I wanted to ask you. You've been talking a lot about.
I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh well, thank you.
Yes.
But you've been talking a lot about Mr. Fraser.
Yes.
I have to say, I think Brendan Fraser is a fantastic actor.
It's just fantastic.
I really think he's fantastic. Now, where do you see me in comparison to Mr. Fraser?
Where do I see you at this stage?
Yeah. Where we're both at with our careers.
John,
you talked about both
John,
of us.
You can't do Cash Out and Cash Out 2 at the same time.
Well, I did.
Yeah, you got 2 Cash Outs coming out.
I do, and they're going to be great. You're going to love them.
And here's the thing.
They're going to be fantastic.
That's Amore seems like something you should be doing right now. I kind of think that's in your zone.
Well, Mr. Sweeney, I think it's rather a fallacy to think about the things that we should be doing and rather think about the things we want to be doing.
Yeah.
And things that I love doing is I like doing Cash Out and Cash Out 2 at the same time.
Stuart is just looking upon you and all right now. He's dead silent.
Yeah, he's been very quiet throughout this whole thing.
He's dead silent.
He usually is pretty quiet during these character bits, but
Yeah.
I would have figured he would have chimed in a little bit by now. Do you have any thoughts on that, Stuart? I'm just really upset, that we had yet another character actor to come in. Well, Stuart, listen. I'll say this right now. I think as long as you're trapped on this podcast, which let's be real, yeah, you're trapped on this podcast. So, I think you need to come to grips with yourself. That character actor is just going to be a thing you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life on this podcast.
Stuart is having his own Scrooged moment right here.
John, can I call you John? Yeah, you can call me John.
Mr. T.
John, Mr. T. Yeah. You asked why, like, how do we compare you with Mr. Fraser, right? Yeah. How do you compare me with Mr. Fraser? You've been, exploring both of our careers, not at the same time, but in a little bit of parallel. So, Mr. Travolta, I have to ask you, and Jeff, I invite you to.
Yes.
You just said it yourself, Mr. Travolta, that it's not about the things that we should be doing, but rather the things that we want to be doing. Yeah, that's absolutely. I truly believe that. I think that's a fantastic way of living your life. So then, do you see Fraser taking the roles as he's taking because he wants to, or that he knows it's something that will help benefit his career? Well, I simply just don't understand the question you're asking. I mean, like the way he's taking supporting roles. Do you see that as somebody who is doing that because he wants to, or doing it because he should? Well, I certainly hope he's doing it because he wants to. Don't you think? Don't you agree? Don't you think he wants to be in a Scorsese movie? I want to be in a Scorsese movie. Who doesn't
I'm sure
want to
you
be
do, John.
in a Scorsese movie?
I would want to.
And I agree that too. Jeff, what do you think? What were your thoughts?
I think Brendan is finally at a stage where he's doing what he wants to do with his career. Which, John, no disrespect. I do not believe.
No, I don't take a disrespect.
I don't believe you're that's where you're at right now.
The boys have been very nice to me on this podcast.
Yeah, we've been exceedingly nice.
You guys complimented me on Die Hard. You said it was my best movie I've done for a while. I was
It's
a little
true.
conflicted about that at first, but I think I've grown to find that quite
That's
enjoyable.
a true story. I deeply still agree with that. That's one of the. I'm sorry.
I'm not distracting you, aren't I? I can really leave.
You're not distracting me at all.
You're not distracting.
Don't go
me.
anywhere.
No, you're okay. I just really don't.
I mean,
no.
the thing, John, is like I don't think you're at a stage where I think you're doing movies because you have to at this point. You know, you're not getting. I mean, you are coming like an angel for Christmas and delivering us a new movie in mere weeks.
Mere weeks?
Yeah, The Shepherd. Remember?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot I did that movie too.
I'm sure you did forget that you did that movie.
Wait, do you have some? Are you expecting somebody?
Is there someone else coming?
Wait,
Who's coming?
Jeff, who's coming? Hello. Hey guys, it's Brendan Fraser. How's it going?
Oh my God, he's here.
Oh my God. Hi, how's everybody
That's just
doing?
fantastic.
Oh, hey, John, Mr. Travolta. It's so good to see you.
Brandon, you know, former. This is the sweatiest thing we've ever done. It's just great. The two subjects of the show meeting at the same time.
Yeah,
let's have a discussion, you and me.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. John, you know Jeff too.
I do. I crashed on his couch a few times. It's just, I
crashed on his couch a few times. Jeff, you haven't offered me a place to stay here before.
Well, you don't want to sleep on that couch. He's doing you a favor.
Okay,
back problems are.
I understand that, but Jeff, come on, man. We're both friends. We're both broskies.
Yeah, you know we're Brendan. We're pretty close.
Have you been keeping in touch with Brendan, Jeff?
Yeah, Gmail. It's crazy.
Gmail.
It's crazy.
Brendan, you know our Travolting? Yeah, I know you're Travolting.
Yeah, I've been emailing travoltingpodcast@gmail.com. I've been doing that too.
You've been doing that too, John?
Yeah. Every time I do it though, I get a virus in my computer.
Oh, those viruses! Oh, I tell you, But anyway, what were your boys here talking about? What were you guys discussing?
They were talking about you, comparison to me.
We're on our recap episode, Mr. Fraser. Oh, your recap episode. It's so great to hear about that. Recap on my career. Yeah, your career. And I also just think, I think what these two boys have done, you really don't. Yeah, no, I really should say you really don't. I really, really want to say, please don't interrupt me. What you two boys are doing here, as some people might think is pathetic and weird and sweaty sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
Wait, someone else coming?
No.
Hey, the motor's running. Get out of here, you two scumbags.
John, did you take a cab? I did.
Is that Craig the cabbie?
Oh my God, it is Craig the cabbie.
Hey, you two jokers, eh? Brendan, Jack, I'm getting the cab, eh?
Jack, who's Jack? My name's John, but okay. Oh, well, boys, I'm so sorry to have to let you guys go, but keep talking what you're talking about. Keep doing. Can you guys give me a little sneak peek of what season 3 is? I'm so yeah. I also want to know what season 3 is going to be about. Jeff, I won't
listen
say
to the
it.
end of the episode.
I won't say it.
You guys are gonna have to listen to the end of the episode when it comes out.
Jeff, that comes out in like a couple weeks. If you could just say it like now, just for us guys, the audience isn't gonna know. You're not gonna spoil it. Yeah, Mr. Sweeney.
Brendan, I'm not done talking about you yet.
That's so nice of you, Jeff. You're such a good, nice person. I hope stop complimenting him. He's sucking his dick. No, honestly. And Stuart, you're also a really, really great co-host with him. Whatever you guys end up doing in the next season, I really hope, Stuart, that you have an extra level of involvement, because as much as we all had our laughs and loves about you loathing being on this podcast, I really think you have a really nice seat at the table here of something historical and remarkable and lovable. Well, Brendan, that's very nice of you. I guess. Okay.
I think that's Craig the cabbie is losing his shit on a variety of different.
Well, Brendan, I guess we should go. You want to hop in just my cab? Yeah, I took a lift here, so I guess I could just hop in your cab. Okay. Well, boys, it's been great, fantastic. Please continue your episode. We're very happy and lucky, and looking forward to season 3. You guys have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming in.
Brendan, you like back rubs? That was crazy. They both showed up at the same time. They were trying to get that 3rd season out of me, but I'm not done with Brendan yet.
I didn't think you were gonna spoil it.
No spoilers.
I was gonna see,
because I do.
I'm still reeling from that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was
that they were both here. Stuart, before we finish this up, I do want to take I want to zoom out. Just
zoom out.
zoom out big time and just talk about the entirety of Brennan's career. And I just want to ask you, like, what is your vibe on this guy after watching, 60 some odd movies of his? Like, what do you feel about him as an actor, him as a performer? What do you feel about his arc, about where his career started to where it's gone?
I feel like Brendan Fraser started in this industry as I reckon it very similar to like the American Dream. Like, you put in your work, you put in your time, you put in your hours, you work hard enough, you pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and you claw your way there, and eventually you'll see success.
Yeah.
And I see Brendan's like early career and rise as somebody who doesn't have a mom or dad in the industry, who doesn't have like an uncle producer, who doesn't have those like quick and easy ends to get him his first like leading role. Like, he starts with the background, the one-liner, the TV, opening, and then eventually starting to get some slow, small lead roles, but nothing like super substantial until Encino Man. But it's through his perseverance and talent that made him transcend into being a lovable figure on screen for the masses. And so to that point, I'm kind of taking this section by section. Like, now that as I've seen him like erupt more so in his fame, he, from the moment of his like career conception until even now, like, I've never seen him have ego in a movie and take a role that felt like it was an egotistical choice.
Yeah.
And I feel like that I'm so happy that hasn't, to me, hasn't changed. Like, that part of him hasn't
seems like
changed.
a guy who genuinely wants to be in movies and
genuinely wants to be in movies, perform, act, take on different roles. And to that point, like, he had to go through a period of his time of being such a yes man that it took its own little toll on him. But I think now he's sort of learned the lessons in the best of both ways, and without some very, very hefty and very difficult struggles he's had to go through, still comes out to the other side learning the best lessons you could possibly learn, and hopefully will continue to live by. We don't know what's going to happen in a few years. We could walk into a theater tomorrow and see a trailer for Ant-Man 3 and Brendan Fraser's the villain. In which case,
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has already released.
That was Ant-Man 3.
That was Ant-Man 3.
Oh, sorry.
Unfortunately,
I thought that was
movie
Ant-Man 2.
sucked.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we go into a theater tomorrow and it's like he gets sold out. I use that word kind of carefully. But like, he literally sells his soul to like the Marvel, Star Wars, DCEU hell.
But I look at Brendan's career, and we talked about at the beginning he wanted to do dramatic work pretty early.
Yeah. And
kind of all of his attempts to do that, which were your Guilty Until Proven Innocence, School Ties, looking through the thing, Passion of Darkly Noon, they were all movies that didn't make much of a register. And just his career kind of got taken in a direction he didn't intend for it to go at the beginning. He, got sucked into comedies, action movies, all that stuff, which is not what he wanted his career to be. But he did it. Because that's what he's good at, and that's what people liked him in.
Yeah.
And that eventually led to Rumination, the career collapse. And kind of a really dark period, post Mummy 3. But as we look at this comeback now, he has achieved, doing the dramatic work that he's always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And looking at his career, it's like this current era would not have been possible without what came before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he couldn't be some guy who's doing work in No Sudden Move, The Whale, Killers of the Flower Moon, if it wasn't for, Encino Man, The Mummy, all that stuff. If his career had started and he was immediately in dramatic work, and very successful at it, like a Matt Damon type or something, who's a similar peer, his career would have gone in a very different direction. Perhaps he'd just done dramatic work for his entire life. Who knows? But I also kind of don't know if he was ready at that stage for this level of dramatic work. I think he had to kind of learn his talents as an actor through the path that he took.
Learn his craft, yeah.
Yes. because he's definitely become a much stronger actor since the beginning.
Oh, 100%.
And that's not to say he was bad at the start, but he has definitely matured into a performer of some level of acclaim at this point.
Yeah.
And I just really find that kind of, affecting that when you look at the whole scale of his career, he could not be where he is today without what he started with.
Yeah.
The whole path was leading to him finally achieving what he wanted to do. And like you said, this could change. But for now, he seems very much in the pocket of what he wants to do and what we want to see him doing.
Yeah.
And so, looking back on the whole thing, I hope that this continues in his direction finally.
Yeah.
And he continues to get to do what he wants to do.
And I know we're taking a sample size of 2 here, but I think it's worth mentioning. I'm kind of glad the 2 guys walked out because I didn't want to say this in front of them. But like, Brendan is truly one of the only actors that we can. I mean, one of the few actors who's truly, truly, truly suffered.
Yes.
Went through an ordeal. I'm not talking
Went
about
through many ordeals.
I'm not talking about getting canceled. I'm not talking about a scandal. I'm talking about somebody who went through some really bad shit and is a shining example of somebody who can come out of that on the other side.
Yes.
And, kind of come back into the spotlight.
It's a inspirational story. Like, regardless of your thoughts on the movies, I think most people are happy that he's back.
Yeah.
As am I.
As am I. Yeah. Like I said, when I was. We're recording this after our Killers of the Flower Moon episode that I just came from the theater seeing. And when he appeared on screen,
I was excited.
In the theater, I verbally said out loud, like, "Oh my God, it's Brendan Fraser!" And like the dude sitting next to me kind of looked at me in a weird way of like, "Yeah, okay, it's Brendan Fraser."
Cool, yeah, there he is.
But I literally knowing where he started, where he went, where he's been, and where he was, and where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's such if I had to sum up this season of the podcast in one or more words, I would say rewarding.
Yes.
This has been probably the most, again, sample size of 2, but of him and Travolta, this has been the most rewarding, case studies we've gotten to do. And, with Travolta, I know my vibe on covering his movies continually now has been more pessimistic and degrading. Nothing would make me happier than to, a movie come out, get some good press behind it. I'm like, oh, maybe. And then we go to a theater and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
That would be a dream if we could achieve that for Travolta too.
But for now on, we can just hope that, if Brendan stays in this pocket, that it's a joy whenever we have to go back to him.
Yeah. Right.
Because we will be going back to Brendan and covering all of his future movies as they come out.
Yeah.
As we do with Travolta through this process.
Yeah. And as we continue with this podcast, season 3, season 4, 5, 6,
however
20,
long we're able
30.
to go on for. Which is first, before I say that, Stuart, I do want to ask.
Yeah.
As we're looking back, I think we have to pick our favorite movies.
Favorite, least favorite, underrated.
Yes.
If we want. Typically have always done that.
We'll do that. I can do it right off the bat.
Okay. You should go first. I want you to go first.
For talking purely favorite movie that we've covered, I think it's actually Killers of the Flower Moon. I think it's my favorite of the movies that we've talked about.
Okay, but
in terms purely of quality.
Change the question. Best favorite Brendan Fraser movie.
Favorite Brendan Fraser movie. I think it's the fucking Mummy. I think it's I think he is just so charming and lovely in that movie. That's a real Stars. He'd been in a lot of movies at that point, but that's a real Star is Born movie star performance.
Yeah,
that I just find really effective.
All right, so Brendan Fraser favorite, The Mummy favorite in general, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Least favorite movie we fucking talked about is
Hairbrained.
Worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
That is
almost almost turned me on Brendan permanently. That's not true. Most underrated movie. Something that I wish people would rediscover. I think there's a decent bit in his 90s run.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I've been re-listening to our podcast a lot lately, just from time to time. And there's a few gems in that period. Absolutely.
Yeah, your movies With Honors and School Ties. You know what? Dogfight. I'm gonna say fucking Dogfight.
No shit.
I think that was a really lovely movie that I enjoyed watching. That I feel like I never hear people talk about.
That's somewhat a little bit out of pocket.
If we're talking purely like, yeah, you should check this movie out. I mean, he's only in one scene of it, one shot, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like most people have seen George of the Jungle, Mummy, etc., etc. Check out Dogfight if you can. It's a charming little 90s throwback movie.
Is there an underrated Fraser movie?
Underrated in terms of his performance.
I mean, there's one staring at you right in the face, bro.
What is it?
The Passion.
Oh, Passion at Darkly Noon, of course.
Yeah.
He's incredible in that movie.
Yeah.
Everyone check out go watch Passion at Darkly Noon. America's Darkly Noon fever.
Yeah.
That should have been my answer for underrated.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick with Dogfight just because.
Okay.
If we are discounting Killers of the Flower Moon, my favorite movie we've talked about is Gods and Monsters, by the way.
Yeah.
I do love Gods and Monsters. I watched Frankenstein a few days ago, and I thought about James Whale.
And that's more of a Brendan Fraser movie, but would you still see your favorite Fraser performance as the Mummy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ian McKellen's the real showstopper.
Right. I got you. I mean, you don't have to guess what my favorite Fraser movie is going to be.
Whale.
It's The Whale.
What's your least favorite?
Least favorite? Oh, God. I mean, there's some pretty bad ones in here. Because I was thinking, like Pawn Shop Chronicles is...
Pawn Shop Chronicles is a kind of abhorrent.
It's very abhorrent. Nut Job's pretty bad, but, I mean, it's an animated movie. Can you really blame it? After you described the Meathead Classic, I was going to say Secret of Karma, but then you described Meathead Classic definition to me,
yes.
And I was like, okay, that does kind of make sense.
The Secret of Karma is a movie that I will watch again in my life.
Escape from Planet Earth. Again, I want to stay away from animation because it's like, again, what can you expect?
Yeah.
Besides, like, the golden Toy Stories and shit like that. But least favorite, if it's not Pawn Shop Chronicles... It's probably Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist.
Sinbad. That movie is
it's another animation, but
lowest effort shit I've ever seen in my life.
It's another animation, but I think even with the animation, I can still say it's a dog shit movie that should be burned into the fire.
Yeah, people should have been arrested for that one.
Yeah. I'm looking at other things. I remember a Pauly Shore run.
I do remember the Pauly Shore run.
Pauly Shore run.
Polycast.
Yeah.
America has Pauly fever.
No, but I feel pretty confident in saying least favorite is going to be Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist for least favorite. Favorite is The Whale. That's my favorite, like, Brendan Fraser performance, and just probably one of my favorite movies too. So I don't think I have to like make a double effort for that one. I love The Mummy. Like I it's such a good rewatchable movie. You can go back multiple times. And then underrated, I'm a little bit torn because I want to say Passion, of course, but then I also kind of want to say I'm looking forward just so I can say it all right. The Quiet American. I know
that's a good movie. That's a good pick.
Well, I know that people could hypothetically say, "Oh, it's not underrated. Michael Caine got an Oscar nomination for it." But like, for real, how many people have watched that movie? Like, for real. Like, yeah. I just I don't know.
Quiet American.
Vietnam sucks. But no, I'd say like underrated is between Passion and Quiet American.
Two good movies.
Because Gods and Monsters I don't think is underrated. I think it's
it's well rated.
For the 5 people who've probably seen that movie right now, well, there's more than 5 people. There's a good amount of it has a good amount of audience.
Gods and Monsters fever.
Yeah. But like the small numbers of people who've seen it, I bet you 98% of them love that movie. Whereas Quiet American, I feel like it has like a pretty small audience that loves it.
Yeah.
And it deserves a slightly bigger audience.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I'd watch it again.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like, because I feel like Whale is so obvious for me. I'm trying to, but I don't want to cop out and just say The Mummy.
No, you can
either.
say The Whale.
Well, but I also kind of just want to like be a little fruity with it too. And
a
like,
little fruity
with it? A little fruity and pick something, that's also another interesting part of his career. I mean, I'd say also be like
In cart. Crash.
Fuck that movie. No, I'd probably go along the lines of what you said, The Mummy or Gods and Monsters. Now and Then, underrated.
Yeah, now and then, a movie in which Christina Ricci grows up
Rosie
and turns
O'Donnell.
into Rosie O'Donnell and suddenly has lived in Brooklyn for 50 years.
But Now and Then, underrated, should be watched by more people. And people should watch his Harvard, what do you call it's not a trilogy when it's
duology.
Duology. They should watch his Harvard duologies with honors and School Ties.
Yes.
They should watch those movies back to back.
Boarding school
to go to Harvard, and then the next movie he's in Harvard.
Yes.
They should watch those two movies back to back. Oh, footsie with me?
I am.
Creep. Yeah, I feel good with those. I know I mentioned like 7 movies on a 3-movie question.
I think you got it.
But I think I
got
got
it in there.
Yeah.
Well, Stuart, I feel like this is our farewell to Brendan.
It was a good ride.
But folks,
It's a good ride.
the show's not over. The show will continue on.
The ride's not done.
Yes, it's not because
we're continuing the ride.
Yeah, we're gonna be easy riders next season. Because that's right, folks. Next season of the show, following up John Travolta and Brendan Fraser, we're gonna be diving into the filmic career of the one and only Winona Ryder on our show called Easy Riders. We're talking about Winona Ryder. That is true.
Yes, you've heard the rumors.
That's correct. Starting next week, we're transitioning to Winona Wednesdays from Fraser Fridays.
Wednesdays, yes.
So starting next Wednesday, November 22nd, I'll be releasing our first episode on the movie Lucas. And we'll be tracking Winona's entire career from Lucas all the way through to the recently released Haunted Mansion, and then seemingly Beetlejuice 2 is coming out roughly around the time we'll be getting to it next year. So yeah, we'll be please continue to join us for our next season as we talk about Winona Ryder. Of course, be going back to any Travolta or Fraser movies that come out through that process. But for the time being, we'll be talking about Winona, exploring a different type of career through our industry, looking at it from similar ideas that we've talked about on this show.
I think what we did, because this is only our second season finale going into another thing, because obviously we didn't have one before Travolta since that was our first one. But if I remember correctly, our Travolta finale, we put in a little bit of context of why Fraser. And I think it was earning of that for Winona.
Because we've now covered 2 people who've had very big public collapses with very big comebacks.
Yeah.
Twice in Travolta's case.
Yeah.
And then currently with Brendan.
Yeah.
With Winona, she has a very similar trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Started out very strong, has a big collapse due to some external factors, some internal factors. And then suddenly has a comeback through Stranger Things, through television.
Yeah.
That has not yet quite reflected into a comeback in movies.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the interesting perspectives that we're coming into this next season with. But in addition, it's the concept of what does a comeback and what does, a long career in Hollywood look like when you're a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Which is something we've not had to tackle because we've covered 2 white guys. White guys. Harrison Ford is 80 years old and he led an action movie this year. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want. That's what we want to delve into. Yeah. Is those ideas.
Yeah.
Which we start next week with Lucas. We get into that conversation pretty early on. Recording a little out of order here. So.
And I can already hear the people saying it's like, yeah, she had a comeback in TV, but how's it going to reflect for you guys who don't cover TV?
We're not covering it.
Well, I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that while we are not going to...
We're going to talk about Stranger Things.
We are going to talk about Stranger Things.
Yeah.
We are going to... I'm going to say this on air so I force Jeff Sweeney's hand. You ready?
Oh, God.
We're going to do an episode on Stranger Things, but we're only going to do one. And it's just going to be not so much like we're going to binge the whole show. We're not like, I'm not going to put that on Jeff's plate, but I do think Stranger Things is worthy of a context discussion.
When we get to that period of time, it will come up in conversation.
Yeah, it'll be an episode. We'll have an episode that's titled Stranger Things, and what we'll do is I've seen every episode, and I will continue to watch every episode because I do love the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting Jeff to do the same.
Yeah.
I do think it's worthy of having an episode just to discover and understand the context of which the show came about, and I think it's worthy of its own episode. I know it's worthy. I know it's worthy of its own episode.
We'll discuss this. I'm not making
I put
any
it out there. I said it. It's in the ether.
I'm not making any commitments on air at this time. But
We've covered Christmas commercials. We've covered
in
TV ads.
In our Christmas special.
We've covered
our Christmas special.
We've covered Capital One ads. We've covered.
Thank you folks so much for listening to
Welcome
the Fraser's
Back, Cotter.
Edge.
No. Wait. There was another direction I want to go with this, because this is another. Again, we're in a very unique finale here, where it's the first. It's one of the very first finales that we're continuing on with another actor. Who else do you have in mind? Who else are you thinking, Jeff?
In the future?
Yeah. We're not saying what season 4, 5, 6 are going to be. We're going to.
Do you want me to go on the air with people in the future?
Well, I want to shoot the shit with you of who in your mind is a person you've thought about covering. Not like seriously, but just thought about.
Our breaking case of glass.
One person.
You want me to list one person?
One person who you're just a little bit. You're dipping the pinky toe in thinking about it.
God, put me on the spot for this.
Yeah, I am. I really, really am.
Yeah, I mean the ultimate career collapse comeback story is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
he's someone who we will inevitably cover one day.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that will be coming up next. But that's something we're inevitably going to cover.
Inevitably.
Yes.
Yeah. I've said this before, but I mentioned this. I called this shot out on early in the Travolting podcast, but Ewan McGregor, I think he has such a very fascinating career, where he comes in and out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
You almost forget he's an actor that exists, and then Dr. Sleep comes out.
Yes.
And then you forget he exists, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show, comes out.
You're like, oh yeah, Ewan.
Yeah. He comes in and out of existence, and it's such an interesting thing to talk about. But he's so prolific too, is the other thing as well. This is just shooting the shit, and we're not talking about this seriously. But we joked about Willem Dafoe,
Willem Dafoe,
and I looked into doing Willem Dafoe, and that would be over 100 movies.
Yes,
He's
it would be
so
an insane run.
Prolific. But one thing that we
should do the Eric Roberts show.
Oh no.
It's 700 episodes.
That is not an arc. He has one okay movie, The Dark Knight.
No, he's in a lot of good stuff in the 80s, and then he's done 2 million direct-to-video movies every year.
Yeah. But one thing I want to litigate with you, Jeff, is, because I've been asked this a lot, Robin Williams.
We should talk about this off air.
You are sweating.
No, we should talk about this stuff off air.
You're sweating.
I don't want to make false promises to people.
No, I'm not. I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any promises.
We just promised people Winona Ryder, and now we're talking about other people.
I know. I'm just saying.
I think we should litigate this off air.
Okay.
But we hope you folks enjoyed The Fraser's Edge. And we hope you'll continue to enjoy Easy Riders as we delve into Winona Ryder coming up. So do you have anything final to say to Brendan?
Final to say to Brendan.
Or just about Brendan?
No, yeah.
Any final thoughts for the final thought?
Just thank you for being a worthy person to talk about.
Yeah, I would say the same. It was a pleasure delving through this filmography, and it'll be a pleasure to continue to delve through it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, folks, next week, Lucas. Next Wednesday, Winona Wednesdays.
So excited.
They're coming up. Please continue to check out the show. We'll be sticking right here wherever you're listening, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. We're sticking with all the same places on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, BlueSky, at Travolting Pod. We're still on Reddit, r/Travolting. We're still at TravoltingPodcast@gmail.com. I'm still on Twitter for as long as it exists, at Jeff W. Sweeney.
I'm still on Instagram at Stuart95.
And Rebecca Johnson, still special thanks for our graphic design, and Michael Van Motigan Smith. Special thanks for the Fraser's Edge theme, which is now guiding you out. And next week, you'll be hearing a little something new. that Michael's been cooking up for us. Thank you, folks, for a great week. Tune in next week, and thanks for sticking with the show.